Happy 1 year, guys. These don't make a sound, apparently. I'll add it in post. So basically, a year ago today, I started my YouTube channel. I put out my first public video, and last night, or I guess I should say this morning, at around 2 a.m., I was finishing up a video that's probably going to come out tomorrow, and I realized, hey, it's September. Didn't I start my channel on September 1st? And I checked, and yeah, it's been a year. I should probably do something on the 1 year anniversary of starting the channel. Like, come on. So I whipped together a little something here. I thought to myself, what could I do to have a video up before the day is out? And I kind of want to reintroduce myself to you guys. Because with the first video on my channel, it was more like I was introducing my channel and not me. You know, it's been a year, so I thought maybe it's time to let people know a little bit more about me, right? If they want to listen, of course. Right off the bat, my name is Reyn Thyme. I do a lot of like gaming content. Sometimes I'll do some React stuff. That over there is my cat. He's also diabetic, so I give him insulin shots twice a day. There's also going to be a lot of stuff I don't go too deeply into because I don't want to dox myself. Some stuff that I guess I can share is like when I was a kid, I did a lot of horseback riding. I got pretty good at it. I never really liked it that much, but my parents did, so I always did that. I tried out pretty much every sport just to find out I didn't like any of them. The only thing I really liked was video games, and that's probably came across given the contents of my channel. So I went to college for computer programming and I got a degree in it. I just didn't like the field. I didn't enjoy it. I actually hated it quite a bit. I found it annoying and I didn't want to troubleshoot all day long. Fortunately, I didn't take out any student loans and I didn't go into any sort of debt, so I dodged that bullet. One final thing before I move on to the next topic. I don't feel super comfortable talking about this in any sort of detail, but there was like a 6 or 7 year long sort of depressive episode that I had, and I feel like it's important for me to just say outright, like, yeah, I experienced this. This is a part of my past. This is a part of me, and I think that it's important to actually acknowledge that. Basically, it wasn't fun. I'm fine now. I'm doing okay. That's all you need to know, really. I just thought it was something I should mention. Is such a large period of time that it's going to come up eventually, and I just need to get it out of the way, I think. Probably feels pretty weird hearing me say that in a party hat. But I guess I could talk about, like, what are my favorite games, right? So my favorite game is Final Fantasy XIV. It's an MMO, basically massively multiplayer online. It's a massively multiplayer game, has stuff like dungeons, raids, etc. I really enjoyed the story in it. I feel like it's one of the best ones, if not the best story I've ever experienced in a video game, in a book, or pretty much anything. It recently finished like a 10-year long story arc, and I've really just enjoyed going through the story that feels like it has all its characters fleshed out, and Emmett Selk is probably one of my favorite villains of all time ever. And I also started playing it towards the end of that depression span that I talked about a little bit earlier, and it really helped me to cement a new worldview, I feel like. And it's always going to have like a special place just because of that. But even without that, it's got such an amazing story, and the gameplay is pretty good. That's not to say there's no issues. I feel like sometimes, you know, the leveling, wish some of the abilities you got them a bit earlier and stuff like that. But it's like minor details, and I really enjoyed the world building, the story, the characters, and the gameplay. So all in all, pretty good. The second game on my list of favorite games would be Xenoblade Chronicles for sure. Before I played Final Fantasy XIV, that was actually my favorite game of all time. It was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed the story. That was like one of my first major story-focused games as a kid. I played that on the 3DS, I liked the game's systems and I loved the story. I thought the beginning arc of the story, that first contained segment, I think it's one of the most well done opening segments in all of video gaming. That opening cutscene into that first arc where you learn the characters, the world, and then finally around to that first, like, the first traumatic event, I guess you could say. Uh, that was probably one of the most solid starts to a video game I've ever experienced. I actually played a game on the channel a while back that I remember where they basically copied the intro for that bar for bar, but not as good. I was even guessing the fates of different characters based off of what I knew from Xenoblade Chronicles. And yeah, that didn't that didn't go over well with me, to be honest. It's fine if you steal stuff from other video games, but generally try not to steal story elements. If you don't know, I'm talking about Phantasy Star 2 Online, not to make anybody angry about their favorite game or anything like that. I just felt like it was kind of like copy and pasted and then didn't do it better. And then I guess the third favorite video game would be Dark Souls, right? Dark Souls is a series that I absolutely love. I love the Soulsborne aesthetic, and the boss fights have always been like S tier. It's so good. My favorite is the first game. I really like the slower combat feel of it. I would even say it's like a back and forth between you and the boss. It really felt like that a lot of the time, and I felt like the slower pacing of you go in, the boss goes in, you go in, the boss goes in, and it's sort of like waiting and watching for an opportunity. It felt really good, and I really like the charm of the original. I feel like the world level design in Dark Souls 1 is, I feel, probably the best out of any video game. The way the world like loops back in on itself. And like on top of that, right, you've got the bosses. The feeling when you beat a boss after like 50 attempts or something is just, oh my god, it's great. I've played Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, a little bit of Dark Souls 2. I quit that game. If you guys ever want to see me actually mad, we'll play Dark Souls 2 someday, like on stream or something. Maybe someday. It's going to be in a far-flung future, though. I've also played a little bit of Sekiro. I kind of want to go back to it. I was expecting something different than what I got. I kind of just stopped playing it, and I need to come back and like give it another go. Armored Core, like all of the FromSoft games, Elden Ring, all of that, they're all good, and I've played a lot of them. I've never played Demon Souls. I played the Liza P demo. Like, you guys know I like Souls games. So I guess that's like my top three. There are other games that I really like too, like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Like, that was an absolute banger of a game. It's just that none of the other games are like such a core part of my gaming experience. And I guess the next thing would be like, what's my favorite like anime, manga, etc., right? I've only ever seen the anime, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is definitely one that I really enjoy. Like, it's one of my favorite animes of all time, if not my favorite anime. My favorite part was part 2. Definitely, Joseph Joestar is the best Joestar. And parts 1 through 3 were like my favorite art style. I didn't like part 4, and I didn't really like part 5. Part 6 was an absolute banger, though. And I think my favorite episode is probably the Kishibe Rohan episode where he fights the dude on a treadmill. That was that I know it's like a standalone episode, but like the Rohan episodes, they're above part 4 for me by like a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Those were so fucking good. I actually loved those. I think Dio is my favorite character. It's either Dio or Joseph Joestar, and it's like they're just so fucking extra, and I love it. Other than that, I guess I've watched Baki. I wouldn't count that as one of my favorites, but it was a fun watch. On the manga side of things, I guess there's Fist of the North Star was an absolutely amazing read. I loved that one. It's like the precursor to JoJo's, so like of course I would love it, right? The other thing I guess would be Berserk. Obviously this is such a like grim dark story, you know. Like, yeah, it's a bit much at times, but I think there's a lot to be appreciated in that story. It inspired so many different things. Like, for example, Dark Souls, one of my three favorite games, as I mentioned earlier, takes a lot of like inspiration from Berserk. My favorite sword in Dark Souls has a move that is exactly like Berserk. You do a front flip with a great sword and slam a motherfucker to the ground. It's great. I absolutely love it. The art in Berserk is so incredible that at the time of reading it, I actually tried to pick up a little bit of art and like sketching stuff. There was one panel that absolutely cemented the author of Berserk as either the greatest manga writer of all time. It's really not even that special of a panel. It's just like this dude is either a legend or a fucking psychopath for having the patience to draw all this bullshit. It was literally like a tile street, and every single tile was drawn in an excruciating detail all the way down, and there was like some curvature to it. It was fucking nuts, man. I saw that. I'd spent like a few minutes just staring at it. Like, holy shit, who draws this? This is absurd, bro. What the fuck? I guess those are like the main ones. If I was gonna add like something from like a manhwa or like a manhwa, either the greatest estate developer is probably pretty up there. I really like the faces that are drawn in there. Another one might be Regressor's instruction manual, where the main character is pretty much just a sociopath. It's just an enjoyable read where it's like, yeah. You know, I actually didn't want to be a YouTuber at first. You see, what I actually wanted to be was a streamer. I wanted to stream video games and just talk about stuff with people in chat. That was like what I really wanted at the end of the day. It was just interactions with people, having fun, and playing a video game. That was like my ideal. Unfortunately, I live somewhere that doesn't have any internet service providers that offer internet good enough to stream. So unless I move, I am locked into YouTubing. And like, even if I did move, right, I would still do YouTube. I would like, yeah, of course I would. It's just that I would probably be streaming like constantly just because that's what I want to do. And not every game that I want to play is fit to make a YouTube video out of. So I feel like that's probably my biggest disappointment with this stuff. I mentioned that I started but didn't finish Dark Souls 2. If I could stream, I would play Dark Souls 2, and I would get probably so fucking mad with the hitboxes and just the way that game is. But I feel like it's something I want to experience on stream. But I just feel like there's a lot of games like that where it's just I want to experience it on stream. Stuff like Jump King, I feel like would be fun. Dark Souls 2 would be fun, but I'd have to move, and I don't have any sort of resources to do that. So yeah, I'll continue YouTubing, make the best of it. Even if this did happen and I did move, I'd still make YouTube videos. I'd just, there'd be a lot more content. The other thing about YouTubing that I really wasn't expecting going into it is editing. Editing is hard. Really hard. It really is its own skill, and it's completely separate from actually being entertaining or playing a video game. I feel like I'm only just now really getting the hang of it. It's a complicated process, and when I started, the editing software I used was not a great software, but it was enough to let me get my bearings with the rest of the YouTubing experience, I guess I'd say. Yeah, I feel like I'm just now properly learning how to do this stuff, and even though it's been like it's been a year now, and I'm still learning stuff. And I feel like that's probably a good thing. I really like the feeling of getting better at something. That's why I like Souls games so much, is I like the feeling of being absolutely curb stomped and going from that to being an absolute god at something through like a natural progression. Like, I love the feeling of getting better at stuff. Souls games, great for that. Editing and YouTubing, maybe not as fulfilling, but definitely still enjoyable. Like, I'm having a lot of fun doing YouTube, so I'm going to keep doing that as long as I'm having fun doing it. which is for the foreseeable future anyways. All right, well, I feel like that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. If it wasn't literally today that I found out that it was the 1 year anniversary of my channel, then I probably would have had something prepared for this. As it is, I hope this is adequate, right? It feels like it's something that I should have probably done a long time ago. So hopefully this isn't too awkward. I've been having a lot of fun, and new video out tomorrow. I will be fighting Minos Prime tomorrow. So if you're here for the Ultra Kill content, then you're in for a treat, I think. That one's going to be a fun one. I guess I got to go and edit this now, get it out, hopefully upload it in time before it becomes not the 1st of September. So yeah, if you guys wanted more behind the scenes stuff, I could maybe make a video where I go over how I record and edit stuff and what I wish I knew when I started a year ago. I could do that if people want to see it. I always love reading the comments on my videos, so like if you guys want to see that, let me know, right? But for now, I hope you enjoyed. More content coming soon, actual gameplay this time. So yeah, thanks for watching. All right, guys, have a good one.